Greetings, this is Stan, and here we are with another What It Takes radio program. And today I'm going to celebrate a special day. At least that's what they say. Let's hear the story. Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stan, the radio man. We're on the air with another Inconvenient Ideas. Now, many of you know that thanks to the AI prowess that I try to develop, I've got a number of different studios, all of them very well designed by my AI robot who has a name called Stush. Well, recently I said, I'd like to get an Inconvenient Ideas new studio, and I'd like it to kind of be like Joe Rogan and Rush Limbaugh had, that they actually had the title of their program in neon lights, old-fashioned neon lights. And so I asked, could you do something like that? Well, within, I think it was 3 minutes, maybe it was only two, this is what it came up with. And it has all of the colors that I like. So here we are in the Inconvenient Ideas studio. And as one of my friends said, Stan, you've got a variety of things you talk about, but when you're at your best is that they are inconvenient. Now, hopefully they're good ideas, but they could be kind of rattle us, shake us up, certainly make us think, and in some cases, maybe even challenge us. And because they're inconvenient ideas, we can decide whether we want to have anything to do with them, which is exactly what good radio is all about. Now, today I'm here because I have spent the last 4.5, 5 days dealing with a technology. We were kind of off the air. Computer, Apple did something to my computer and we had troubles. Then Dropbox decided that they were going to withdraw, for some reason, all of my files. And the two of them put together wiped out a whole lot of my videos, a whole lot of my stuff. And I have spent the last few days, first of all, trying to recover them as much as I can, kind of a rescue mission of all of my stuff. And I don't think I got all of it, but I think I got the best of it. And obviously, a lot of it, who needs it, who cares about it, it's gone forever. That's fine. And have gotten, I think, the computers working, and to finally get the Dropbox to work, and then to get the Office 365 to work. And of course, my faithful AI got them back online, and they were very helpful in recovering about 5.5 months of stuff that I had done. Just simply to say, that's why I did, in the midst of the mess, the program I did a few days ago. How can we, in effect, learn how to still be bats, be blessed, because we have the ability to do something still? And I am. That here I am, and I can be on the radio, on the television, and I can do it worldwide. Now, today, as I finally got my emails working, all of a sudden something flashed up and said, "This is National Radio Day." Well, I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it. Uh, who declared that? Obviously, somebody in radio. All you have to do is say, "This is a national day," and you get to say it. As far as I know, you don't have to register it or have it approved. You can just declare it. So I said, well, if it really is something besides one of those phony little phrases, then maybe I should do something about radio. And the reason is that I am, as I oftentimes say, the radio man. Now, that's obviously a little bit of a boast, but it's meant to be descriptive. I don't call myself an author or a writer. I don't use that. I'm certainly a teacher. have been for many years. But I really am, as I'm kind of a storyteller who enjoys telling the story on the radio. And according to a family legend, you know how those things go and grow, that has always been a part of me. My mother claims that she panicked one day when she walked into the kitchen and there was a little Stanley, yes, climbing up on the counter near the hot stove so that he was looking into the back of the radio, which my mother had as part of, listening to the radio while she does her motherly work in the kitchen. And she grabbed me and said, "What are you doing, Stanley Paul? What are you doing? You're just crazy." And I guess in my innocence, I said, "Well, Mom, I'm trying to find the people in the radio." Yeah, I heard all these voices. I was looking for the people in the radio. Well, I soon understood that wasn't the way it worked. That made me even more curious, and I just confess that I've always loved radio. I listened to the radio. I listened to all kinds of programs. I started to listen to radio programs all over the world, shortwave. I became a ham radio operator, did all of that stuff, and loved it all. Well, after a 12, 13-year career of teaching, I decided that, I don't know if I'm going to continue to do that. And then I learned something, which I still bring to you. If you're looking for a change in your life, a change in your career, and many of you are, and many of you have to, you really do. I oftentimes see, and then I say, go back to one of your first loves. What something that you really liked to do as a child, and see if that might be a little bit of a clue as to what you should do. Well, I was about 33, 34 years of age, and so I went back to night school. I would taught during the day, and then went back to night school with a wonderful organization in Minneapolis called Brown Institute, and I became a radio guy. And ever since then, whether it was with international radio or with BBC, I was always involved in radio of some kind. And when podcasting hit, I was one of the first people to jump into the podcast pool, and still am. And of course, what we do with What It Takes Radio is we are here to help you uh, make your mark in life and in business, learning how to use the radio. So I decided, well, at least I should say something about Radio Day that might be helpful and might be useful and maybe a touch of entertaining. So here we go, and hopefully you were okay with my story. By the way, that's one of the reasons you ought to think about the radio. Because remember, people love to hear stories. And did you note that I said they love to hear stories? Certainly we love to read stories, but there's something that has a touch of mystery and magic when we actually hear the story. Okay, so let's go from there. So remember that actually we owe radio to one of the guys who has a car named after him. Elon Musk brings out the first electric car, and of course we all know it's called the Tesla. And most people have heard of that. A few people even know why it's called a Tesla, and it was actually named by Musk in honor of one of his heroes, a man named Nikola Tesla, who was an incredible, powerful inventor. And he was the one, along with a few others, but he was the one who developed the fact that electricity would alternate, go back and forth. You've heard the word alternating current, AC. Uh, and he was one of the ones who created that. And it made it possible to send electricity long, long ways away. All those wires that you see around. That's because they can send the electricity just hundreds, maybe thousands of miles on the wires if it alternates. If it's what they call direct, it can only go a few miles and then it has to be recharged. Well, what they also discovered was that when you do that and you make it go up and down and back and forth really fast, all of a sudden electronic waves are created that flow out of the wire and they go out into the atmosphere. And if you learned how to do it, you could put up another wire like an antenna and it would capture it and it would bring it down to you. That's radio. Changed the world. Television. Well, that's just radio with pictures. If it wasn't for Nikolai Tesla, at least at that time, we wouldn't have electricity, very much of it at least the one we use so much today. And of course, almost everything from your cell phone to your phone to your radio. Just think of all the things that actually are small little radios. Well, radio has become, and it has been this way for many, many years now, it is the primary means of communication. Surely people read newspapers. Surely people read books. Surely people read things, and they will continue to. But we all know that the major way that most people get their information and their entertainment and their music and their news today is using some form of radio. That's the deal. Now I kind of got ready. I put on my special tie. I'm known for being the red tie guy. Now of course, Donald Trump beat me to it, though I think I was close. He just was smart enough. And of course, did you notice that Donald Trump usually dresses up wherever he goes, and he wears usually a red tie or at least a solid color tie. That's become his trademark. Remember, Trump is not just in business to do business. Trump is in the business of Trump. Of course, he's now the president of the United States, and we all know that story. And lots of people are glad and lots of people are mad about that, which would please him okay, because he knows enough about radio and video and marketing and publicity that the more people talk about you, good or bad, the more power and influence you have. That's probably true. And so he has his signature style, but he did something else. I oftentimes say to young men and women right now, write your first book before you're 40. Doesn't have to be a good book. Just write. Anybody can write a book anymore. I can help you do that. We could do it over a weekend. Write your first book before you're 40, and that will be kind of your brochure, the way you will be identified. You can say, I'm an author, I've written a book. And of course, many of you know it was called The Art of the Deal. By the way, you ought to read the book. I oftentimes say to people, whether you like him or not, just read the book, which was done just prior to being 40, and it describes what he believes about life. And what he believes about life is it's a deal. This is what's driving some of us crazy, is that he wants to do a deal with the Iranians. And some people say there are certain people you can't deal with. You just have to beat them up or leave them alone. But he is a deal maker, and he's very good at that. That's why he wants to do that. because we all like to do what we think we're good at. Well, but he did something else. And many of you know this. He decided in the midst of all the things he was doing that he wanted to be on television. And so the program called The Apprentice, and many of you know about it, heard about it. In effect, he was the person who then gave the apprentices things to do, and then he would evaluate whether they had done them well, and then give them some business lessons, and then he would say, in his signature way, to the one person who had not done a good enough job, he would say, "You're fired." Remember that. "You're fired." And that became his signature statement. "You're fired." And so, in effect, he then created a huge influence and a large audience because he knew how to use the radio and the television and all that goes along with it. Now, many years ago, Dale Carnegie told those of you in business how to win friends and influence people. Still a bestseller. By the way, we're doing a new updated version. It's over 85 years old now. So I and a group of us are putting together a new version, something similar. But what he said is, if you wanted to be successful, you had to learn the art of public speaking or presenting. And that caught on. And so we had the Toastmasters. It was many business schools. You were taught how to make a speech, how to make a presentation. And that became one of the things that was be very helpful in making your mark and being successful in life and business. And that's probably still true in many ways. In effect, we all have to present ourselves. We all have to perform. We all have to demonstrate how good we are. And that is even more so true today. So here's how I would like to leave it, okay? And I think I might follow up tomorrow with a second part of the program. But let me just let you sit on this for a while, because we've kind of reached the limit of what a good radio program should be. Hey, it's an AI world. It is. And you're going to have to learn about it and perhaps learn how to use it in some way. And you might have to learn how to use it in some significant way. That's why on my team now, I've gotten together with a woman who, I know radio, how to do it. She knows AI. I've written books and articles on radio. She's written books and articles on AI, and we're going to combine the two in our talents and skills, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. But here is the point. AI is changing so many things that, as one pundit said, all of that stuff you learned in college, much of it is worthless in terms of your career and your business. It doesn't mean it's worthless, but in terms of your career and business, a lot of it's not going to work anymore. So what we should do is we should teach younger men and women how to be entrepreneurs, not how to get ready for a career, not get ready for the job search in a business. That will happen, but teach them how to build their own business. And in learning how to build your own business, you'll learn how to sell yourself, create new ideas, and as a result, one of the key lessons you should learn in college, no matter what you are studying, it should be a required course in entrepreneurship. Now, I came from the day in colleges where there were a lot of required courses. Some people don't understand that many years ago, when I was growing up, if you went to a college like the University of Minnesota, but there were hundreds of them, if they had what was called Reserve Officers Training Corps, which was training to be an officer in one of the military forces, you had to take the first 2 years. Men did, not the women, but the men did. You didn't have to like it, you didn't care. And after 2 years, you could quit. And if you wanted to be an officer, you put in 2 more years and you could get a commission in the United States Army, Air Force, Navy, because you had finished Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC. But the first 2 years were required. Just like in Israel today, every young person has to do 2 years in the Israeli Defense Force, unless you have some health or other, maybe a religious exemption. So do that. But right now, I'm going to encourage every young man or woman should not learn how to scroll or watch the screens. They should learn how. And it doesn't mean just doing crap stuff and throwing it on TikTok. You need to learn how to be, in effect, as I say, in front of the camera and behind the microphone. It's an art. It's a skill. It's a state of mind. And I'm going to encourage you and young people, learn how to do it. Now, whether you ever want to do a podcast or do a radio program or any of those things, which, by the way, is a very, very, very powerful way of getting the word out. In effect, many people think that one of the differences in Donald Trump's election was the fact that he was smart enough to go on a whole variety of podcasts. And it seemed that Kamala was a little bit reluctant to do that. That may have been one of the differences. Who knows? But please, it's an AI world. You need to create your own personal economy. And you need to learn how to do, maybe even better than me, how to be on the radio. Just something to think about on National Radio Day. And as I point out, what really is that there are maybe 6 or 7 good other reasons about why you should be on the radio. And let me think about it. I've got many of them. Maybe tomorrow we'll do part 2 and give you some reasons why good thing to think about on a Friday, why you should decide that part of your future, and Friday is a good day always to think about your future, is how you and why you should be on the radio. Hey, until next time or whenever, thank you for your time. All the best and blessings to you. I'm Stan, the radio man, and I hope these ideas may be inconvenient, but I hope they might be helpful and useful to you. And I appreciate you. Bye for now.